It's time for our championship predictions. Now, next week, I will take a look on Thursday about the Blues Ipswich game specifically. However, we're going to take a look at the table, where we think everyone's going to finish. And just a note, one, I do not have any bias towards any of these teams. I don't hate your team if I put you in the relegation zone or if I put you lower than you think. And two, the reason for that is my championship knowledge kind of went out the window as soon as Blues were relegated because I didn't pay much attention to the championship last season. I don't really know what's been going on. I haven't paid too much attention to signings. So I do need to get back into the swing of things. This is just a harmless bit of fun. It Potentially none of it will be right. I wouldn't be surprised. So just take it with a pinch of salt. Let's get into it. And how should we start? Well, we will go from the bottom up, and I think the first one, you have to kind of back this team to finish bottom of the league. There's no, I'm not being harsh by saying it. Everybody says it. Sheffield Wednesday, if they're not bottom of the league, they have done a brilliant job. I'd be surprised if by the time the season starts at the weekend they've got enough players on the books, senior players on the books, to put out a lineup because everyone's up for sale. Loads of players cancelling their contracts, people not being paid. It's just a mess. Chansiri has got them in a massive mess. How he got there in the first place, as in the owner of Sheffield Wednesday, how he got that role, I do not know. Obviously, the EFL needs to take a look at their checks, but as a Blues fan, we know all about that with the dodgy secret owner that no one knew who he was. So, yeah, Sheffield Wednesday, unfortunately for them, I'd be very surprised. I mean, Danny Rolls left now, and he was their only real saving grace. So, yeah, Sheffield Wednesday, bottom, I think makes a lot of sense. And then I'm actually a little bit stuck. I think there's about 4 teams that are in this little picture, for me anyway, and the 4 teams are Oxford, for understandable reasons. Charlton have just came up and will probably be the weakest of the 3 that have came up. Preston had an awful end to last season and were very close to being relegated. And Hull, there's a bit of noise around Hull. Things haven't quite gone to plan since they've been back up. Well, they did in the first season, but since they sacked Liam Rosenior, things have kind of went very poorly. They've obviously now lost their manager, Ruben Sellers, who's gone to Sheffield United. We'll get into that in a bit. But, yeah, Hull, even though they're making some good signings, there's just a bit of a funny feeling around them. So, for the next 2 slots, for me, it's between those 4. And I've gone for what I see as the more exciting one. It's not exciting for these 2 teams, but I've gone Hull 23rd and Preston 22nd. So that's the bottom 3 for me, which I know is a little bit probably strange that there's no Oxford or Charlton in there, but I guess this is the exciting one because all 3 newly promoted clubs stay up, and Oxford are one that are heavily tipped to go down. So then having another season where they stay up, Gary Rowett keeping them up, would be a massive surprise. And I mean, Preston, they had a spell. They've always been kind of mid-table, but they had a spell where they looked like they were edging towards it under was it Ryan Lowe, but now it's just kind of gone a bit pear-shaped, especially last season. So I've actually got Preston and Hull going down with Sheffield Wednesday. Again, bit of an odd one. I'll probably have a lot of people switch off now that are watching it because they'll think, what the hell is this guy on about? But stay tuned. This is quite fun because I'm just picking teams out of a hat. On to the few teams in a relegation scrap. So obviously, as I've mentioned, Oxford, I've got 21st. Charlton, I've got just above in 20th. I like the signing of Harvey Nibbs for them. They've signed Charlie Kelman as well, who did very well at Leyton Orient last season. So there's some interesting pickups for Charlton. And Nathan Jones, even though they're a squad that are not not the strongest. You know, they went up through the playoffs, all that. Nathan Jones, he always has a very good home record. He'll always be defensively solid. So to be honest, I think maybe I'm a bit harsh on Charlton. I wouldn't be surprised to see them maybe even up into the mid-table bracket. But speaking as realistically as possible, I think Charlton survive, but they'll be in the mix. So then it gets a bit difficult again. I think there's like a new tier maybe here. And I'm actually going here for QPR in 19th. They've signed Kwame Poku, good signing, very good signing. Obviously fought off a lot of competition for him. Wanted to stay in London. Not wanted to stay in London, wanted to move to London, got that move. And I think it's good for all parties if he manages to stay fit the whole season. He will have very good output at this level. But I just look at the rest of the squad and how they've kind of underperformed recently, all the fallout with Marty Cifuentes, and I think there's a little bit of chaos at QPR at the moment, and chaos always seems, as Benjamin Bloom always mentions chaos, it always seems to cause a bit of negativity around a club because obviously you want stability. So yeah, I've got QPR in 19th. Just above that, I'm going for Wrexham. I'm not having this that they're going to finish in the top half. I just don't see it. Their transfer strategy is... it's to keep them up this season, but it's not to progress for the future, I don't think. I think the way they play is going to get found out at this level because a lot of top teams in the Championship, most teams in the Championship, like to play on the floor, they like to keep the ball, but and obviously the physicality aspect is always there in the Championship, but Wrexham are just not a team I see like that. I mean, they've got about 16 strikers that are 30 plus. They've signed Connor Cody, I think they've signed, haven't they, Kiefer Moore, which I do like the Kiefer Moore signing, but again, it's a physical player and they're going to be quite slow in possession. I just don't think that the style of play will necessarily strive in the Championship. However, I think they'll stay up. I just don't get why they're spending so much money on players that are right at the end of their career. It seems... it's positive short term, but negative long term. And then, you know, that they're signing players and they're not going to be able to sell them on for as much, so they're losing money, and then by the time they need to sign more players, because they're going to have quite a big overhaul, they've got quite an ageing squad, by the time they need that overhaul, is it going to be a bit too late? So yeah, that's the way they've gone, fair enough, but I see them finishing 18th. Moving on, we go into the mid-table bracket. Blackburn, they did start hitting good form at the end of the season last season. Obviously, John Eustace was doing a very good job with them, as he seems to do everywhere he goes. Then he went to Derby. Blackburn dropped off a bit, and then right at the end started to pick up. So maybe that's a bit of positivity. But yeah, Blackburn, I think they're going to be okay, but lower mid-table. We move on. Might be a bit of a surprise, but I've actually got Bristol City now, and I think this is a bit of playoff heartache. I know they didn't obviously get to the final, they were battered in that semi-final by Sheffield United, but I think they massively overachieved last season. Nobody had Bristol City in their top six at all, so the fact that they got there, that massive overachievement, they were a bit burnt out, struggled in the playoffs. I mean, the first leg of the semi-final really ruined any chance for them. But then I just think there's going to be a bit of a hangover from that. Obviously, the manager, Liam Manning, goes, so that's just a different change. And yeah, I think this season might be a bit of a hangover from the overachievements of last season. But they'll be fine, you know, they'll stay up easily, and I think then maybe next season is when they push on. So, yeah, they'll give it another go after. Interesting one. Next, I've actually got Portsmouth in 15th. Now, Portsmouth, reason for this, obviously, good young manager. I think they were good last season, very good home form. I'm pretty sure they were quite good at the turn of the year, if I'm correct as well, because they were in the bottom three for a little bit, but or at least like the bottom five for a little bit. But yeah, turned it round, and yeah, I think they'll kind of carry on the good form they ended with. Moving up again, we're going to go another John Eustace club in this bracket, Derby County. Now, Derby, I think under Eustace, you know, when he's there for a full season, I don't think there's going to be any struggles. I think they will be completely fine. And they're spending a little bit of dough, to be fair, so who knows where they could end up. I mean, they could be a bit of a dark horse to finish top half, but yeah, I've got them in 14th. Just missing out on top half. We go for Stoke, and I mean, since Stoke have came down from the Premier League, they've been underachieving every season. Every transfer window, they look like they're making some good signings, and then it just all doesn't work out. Every single year, it's the same story with Stoke. I remember probably about 3 seasons ago, I put them in the top 6, and they finished right near the bottom. And I did it a couple of seasons in a row, I think, and from then on, I just thought, no, I'm going to go low for Stoke. And I think they've made some good moves in the transfer market, which I've just said is always a negative for Stoke. But yeah, 13th for Stoke. Into the top half, and I don't actually know how I feel about this. I don't think they'll be any higher than this. But we've got the Baggies in 12th. Again, they lost Carlos Corberán last season to Valencia, obviously going back to his home club, and it's just, again, they've got a lot of ageing players. They have cleared some names off the books. I'm pretty sure Carlan Grant, Grady Dean Garner have gone, and they were on decent wages, and I think they paid a combined, it's about 36 million for them too. I think they were about 18 million between each. Sorry, so yeah, they've got players like that off the books. But yeah, I still think they need to do a little bit more in the window to kind of get into the next bracket. So Baggies in 12th, Swansea in 11th. I mean, we're obviously Tom Brady's Blues, so Snoop Dogg's Swansea City. They, I don't know. I don't know why. I've got a feeling Swansea will have a better season than they did last year. I think they could potentially get into the next bracket, just missing out. But Swansea 11th, I think they are going in the right direction. And I think within a couple of seasons, you will see them in and around the playoffs. But maybe this year, just outside. Obviously, Luka Modric is an investor as well in that. So, yeah, Luka Modric and Snoop Dogg at the front of Swansea. Little bit strange. But we've got Tom Brady, so everything's a bit weird. Wrexham have got Ryan Reynolds. So, we move into the top 10. And perhaps a little bit low, but I've actually got Middlesbrough in 10th. Now, they've got Rob Edwards there. Obviously, he did very well with Luton. Got them up. Then they had an awful spell. Ended up getting relegated from the Premier League. And then, I can't remember how long he was there for last season. That's how much I wasn't paying attention. But obviously, Luton then got relegated. They suffered a double relegation. So, can't have done that good of a job. Going into Middlesbrough, Hayden Hackney now looks like he's staying rather than going to Ipswich, which is very good for them. But yeah, I think Middlesbrough are kind of stagnating a little bit. They're not really pushing on. They were doing well under Carrick, but they always started the season poorly under Carrick and then brought it back. And last season they just kind of ran out of steam a bit. Yeah, Middlesbrough, I think 10th is pretty fair. Now the next 3 teams I was quite torn on, and I thought they could have gone in any order, and I think one of these teams, I don't think many people have them this high, but we're not going to get onto them. We're going to go for Norwich next. Now obviously Borja Sainz has left to Porto. Josh Sargent, I believe he's going to go. I think he's still there, but I think Josh Sargent will leave, which obviously leaves some gaps. I remember they signed a Danish or Norwegian lad that a few teams were after. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he looks like he'll be a good addition because there was a lot of interest. But yeah, Norwich I think will just miss out, but I think they could be 7th, 8th or 9th as well as these other two teams. So Millwall I have in 8th and Watford I've got in 7th. So these three, Norwich, Millwall, Watford, for me all kind of interchangeable, all in a little bracket above Middlesbrough I think. Watford, I think they've been doing some good business in the transfer market. It's just how many managers will they get through this season. Millwall, they've been doing a very good job recently. I think, manager coming back to them being somewhere outside the relegation zone, I think, when he came back, and then getting them clear to safety. I think that was the season where he got relegated, and then last season started kicking on. I think they finished just outside the playoffs. I may have got that completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure they were just outside the playoffs, and I think it'll be similar again. Reason is that I think the top six, not necessarily the order's decided, but I really think everyone is going for these six, and you can understand why these six are the top six, but yeah, there seems to be a general consensus that these top six are pretty locked in. Watford 7th for me. I think a lot of people have them about mid-table, but for some reason I'm quite big on them this year. I think they'll do well. They signed Nestori and Kunda from Bayern Munich, wasn't it? He went from the A-League to Bayern a few seasons ago and now on loan to Watford. So yeah, I think that's an exciting player, a bit of an unknown, but you like that. And yeah, I think Watford have been going about their business quite smartly. I think they're a bit of a dark horse for the playoffs. If I had to pick anyone to break into that top six, I'd go for Watford, which is probably a bit of a surprise and probably won't happen. But anyway, on to the top six. 6th place, I've actually got Coventry. I think under Lampard, obviously last season, they really turned a corner, were very, very good, and yes, they obviously missed out to Sunderland. I think if that Van Aywick the mistake he made in the first leg of the playoffs really caused a lot of problems for them. It's something they couldn't really come back from very well. But they were playing against a very good Sunderland side, and I think Coventry will get in the playoffs again. They've obviously got good players. Again, there's that bit of step up of quality now, I think, and yeah, Coventry I think will be the lowest of these six, but still a good season, and the playoffs is a bit of a lucky dip. Anyone's game, so that's what I'm going for. 5th place, now I'm a bit torn here, but I've actually got Sheffield United, and there's a few reasons. So first of all, Ruben Selles hasn't, he was at Reading, did a good job at Reading, but it was a very good job as well. But it was League One, so obviously lower standard of football. Then went up to Hull, just about got them clear of relegation. So nothing really to write home about there, but did the job that he was meant to do. Didn't excel, I didn't think. So then Sheffield United, the only manager who ever seems to do anything there is Chris Wilder, and he's gone and Ruben Selles is in. I understand you need to move on. You can't just always rely on the same bloke to do the job for you. I know he missed out in the playoff final last year, but they were ahead in that game. They could have probably won that if they'd not switched off. So, yeah, that's one reason. And they've lost their midfielder. Vinicius Souza has gone. He's been very integral to their team, and that midfield. Gus Hamer probably will go, if he hasn't already. So, yeah, I think again bit of a hangover. Not that big of a hangover because I still think they'll get the playoffs. But yeah, I don't see them. Although it can go one or two ways. So you had Bolton in League One got to the playoff final, lost to Oxford, and then last season really didn't challenge until right near the end, and it was too late when they started putting a run together, so they missed out on it. Then you've got Leeds in the Championship, who lost in the playoff final to Southampton, and the next season go and win the league with 100 points. So it can go either way, and with this one, I just think there will be a drop-off from Sheffield United. So 5th place. Now moving up, and I know I've still got Blues here, and this is very risky territory for a Blues fan to be predicting us in the top 4. I know most people have us 3rd or 4th from what I'm seeing, and we are 3rd favourites to win the league. So I'm going to go for Leicester 4th. Now, Leicester, I know a lot of people are kind of putting them 6th, 5th, or maybe outside the playoffs. However, 9-point deduction potentially, or even 12-point deduction. They're still keeping a bulk of their squad, and I do think that, again, a 9 or 12-point deduction, that's 3 or 4 wins more than they need than, for example, for me, Watford, and they get in the playoffs. So I don't really see them finishing outside of the top 6. And I do think 3rd, 4th and 5th is going to be tight between Sheffield United, Leicester and the team that I've got 3rd. So, yeah, Leicester, I mean, they've still got Mavrodidi and Fatawu on the wings. Very strong. Obviously, Vardy's now gone. Who have they got up front? Is it still Tom Cannon? Very good striker at this level. So, yeah, I think Leicester are being a bit hard done by. I mean, as far as I'm aware, they haven't even got a points deduction yet. So, I mean, if they don't get one, then top 2, they are really in that conversation then. But, yeah, I'm going to go 4th with them. And now, well, winning the league and finishing 2nd is, obviously, it's nice to get that winner's medal, but the destination is the same. It's automatic promotion to the Premier League. So, this is the biggest one now for me. Will Blues get into the top 2? Will they just miss out and finish in the playoffs? In my opinion, unfortunately, I don't have us in the top 2. I know most people do have Ipswich and Southampton in the top 2, and I get it. So, I'm going to end the video on Blues and why I think we'll just miss out and why I think we'll finish that high. But I'm going Ipswich to win the league, Southampton 2nd, and Blues 3rd. Reasons. So, Ipswich, a lot of teams go up to the Premier League, struggle, look like they're going to go down, make a bit of a change of manager, and then they end up going down anyway, and nothing really then comes of it. I like the fact that the owners gave Kieran McKenna that little bit of grace. I mean, he got them up from League One fantastically and then bounced straight up to the Premier League, automatic promotion. And 1, that's not really heard of. And 2, he did a fantastic job in that 2nd season. That's when he was really judged. And to get them up to the Premier League when there were dark horses for it, but bloody hell, they were not expected to get automatics as well as they did. So, Ipswich, I think they've kept a core of that squad together. Obviously, Liam Delap has gone. That was always going to happen. They've had an offer rejected from Hayden Hackney from Middlesbrough, 15 million. There's rumours they're going to go back in for Kajust, who they had in the Premier League, or Kajust, or however you say his name. And Amari Hutchinson could be on the way out. There were rumours a few weeks ago that Brentford were triggering his release clause, but now that's went a bit quiet, so not sure what's happening on that front. However, they've got a bulk of that squad still together, Ipswich have, and I think with the manager and all the positive momentum we built up before, maybe a bit of a slow start for them, especially with a couple of tough fixtures, that Blues game on the opening night being one. But yeah, I think they'll, once they find their groove 4 or 5 games in, I think they will really be a solid machine. So Ipswich top for me. Southampton second. I like the appointment of Will Still. I think the Southampton owners, I quite like some of the players they pick up. They've obviously got Cameron Archer, who I believe is the favourite to be top scorer. And yeah, Southampton, I think they'll be up there. I think they'll get second place. So on to Blues. Now, obviously, management was new to Chris Davies in League One, broke plenty of records, 111 points. He hasn't a manager at this level. He's obviously being an assistant manager at the highest level of football, but not managed at this level. The signings Blues are making, I mean, Kyogo is a fantastic striker. Celtic fans, rated him as the best striker they've had since Henrik Larsson. That's how good he is. So the fact he's playing in the Championship is pretty ridiculous for me. Damari Gray, brilliant. What's he got, over 200 Premier League appearances or something stupid? And he's coming into his prime years. He's not done yet. He's 29, is he? So I think that's a brilliant signing. He's one of the best Championship wingers that you can get. Tommy Doyle, obviously a lot of clubs after him, including some in the Premier League. So yeah, obviously there's other signings, but those three in particular. Phil Newman at centre back as well was rated the best defender in the Bundesliga 2 last season. So great signing. Asai Samuel was playing with Jose Mourinho in the Europa League in Turkey, comes over to us. So yeah, there's plenty of brilliant signings happening. We are now linked with a few more players. I think we'll get another 3 in before the transfer window ends, and they're all going to be quality. We've only spent a permanent fee for one player, which was Kyogo. So there's plenty more in the bank to be spending as well. And I think the bulk of our squad already is very good. So I think that momentum can do very, very brilliant things. The way we play, I think, suits top level Championship sides. And I mean, whenever we've came up against strong sides, like when we played Newcastle in the FA Cup last season, yes, they had a lot of their second team out, but that second team survives in the Premier League. And what was it they had? Over 700 Premier League appearances between that whole first 11. So, and we had them 2-2 at half time. We were 1-0 up. There were some sloppy goals given away in that, but we played our second goalkeeper for some reason, who now we've sent on loan to Blackpool because he's not very good. He doesn't have hands. So yeah, we've done it against some top sides. We played Nottingham Forest just gone on the weekend, beat them 1-0, and they had 9 first teamers playing. So yeah, I think we are ready, and I think within this and the next season, I think we'll have been promoted. Give it 2 Championship seasons, I think we will be up then in the Premier League. Could happen this season. Obviously, I've got us in the playoffs, and as I said, it's a lucky dip. But yeah, I think we'll get to the Premier League within the next 2 Championship seasons. So they're my thoughts. Again, it's a bit of a guess. Or, I mean, obviously it's all a guess. Nothing's happened yet. But I am not as informed as a lot of Championship content creators will be. I mean, most of them, it's their full-time job, or they're releasing videos daily. They're keeping up to date with the transfer window. For me, it's just a hobby. I enjoy speaking about Blues. I enjoy speaking about football. But I'm not as well informed. So if you're going to listen to anyone, go and listen to Benjamin Bloom, Matt SB, Ben HD, any of those top Championship creators. They're the sort of people I watch in my spare time because they're just so clued up on this stuff. So yeah, shout out to those guys, and yeah, let me know what you think of this. Who's your top 2? Who's getting in the playoffs, and who is going down? Any bold predictions? Is anyone thinking Wrexham are going to make the playoffs, or maybe a side you wouldn't expect, like someone maybe I've got in the mid-table bracket, you think, nah, they're going down? Let me know down in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. See you later.